What's up, everybody? I've been doing a sketch event called Art and Love over on Raremarq and sponsored by Olo Markers. And I figured I'd draw the last one live for, shits and giggles. Why not? We've been doing it since like the beginning of the month, and it's gonna end tomorrow. So I thought I'd do a sketch cover, and each of these has been a female character, so I thought I might do Lady Deadpool. I'm not sure I'll finish it through the stream, but we'll get pretty far into it. Just gonna look up her costume just to make sure I'm not missing any details. Yeah, it's pretty much just Deadpool. All right. I don't really have a plan. I'm just gonna wing it and see what happens. I might lower this actually so she's not in the title. If this were in black and white, I could just like bang out part of the title with paint. But I want to use these markers to make the thing full color. And that doesn't always work over top of paint, so I'm going to lower her a little bit. Sorry guys, my camera is drifting. Give me 1 second. You know, it occurred to me I drew Deadpool for like 5.5 years, and I don't think I drew Lady Deadpool not once, which is odd. She just didn't show up in our series. Um, so yeah, I'm probably gonna have to finish this today. The last day of the event is tomorrow. We were supposed to run this all throughout February till Valentine's Day, and then this will go up on the auction site tomorrow. It'll be the first sketch cover I've done for this event. Like all the rest have just been on paper. I just thought for the last one I wanted to do something little more special, a little different. And I have all these Deadpool #1s from when I was still in the book a few years back. So I thought let's do that. I'm going to go over top of this with marker. That's the only reason I'm being a little fussier about the line, because I don't want it to show through. Once you go over top with marker, it sort of locks in your pencil. You can't really erase it. It doesn't behave like normal ink. You could go over it with ink, cover it up, or just erase the parts that you haven't touched with the ink. But any marker you go over top of this with will sort of lock it in place. So I'm gonna, clean it up a little bit. Hey, Marintosh, how are you? yeah, it's kind of fun. I thought I'd give it a shot, see what happens. Okay. So these are these Olo markers that are sponsoring the event, which is dope. What's cool about these is they each one's actually, I don't know if all their markers are like this, but they're double tipped and they're two smaller markers. So instead of being stuck with a double tip marker where you just have to accept what each side is, I could adjust these. So I could put like a light one. In this case, there's two light and two darker. I'm going to start with gray, but like there are times when like I'll switch into a dark and a light. Like I could swap these out, which is super dope. These little screw pieces come with the markers, so you stick them on, and then decide which you want to plug in, which I think is a cool feature. I've never seen that in a marker. So on top of being super pigment rich, these are like, they're just well designed, which I think is cool. I'm gonna go into this with, I'm gonna start with warm grays before I like add local color, just because I wanna figure out some of the tones before I put color on it. I'm just doing this with a kneaded eraser to get some of that pencil off. Again, just to make sure it's like nice and clean. So I'm just gonna kind of block in some of the shadows. I didn't draw them in advance. I'm just gonna go by feeling, I guess. So I'm switching to a slightly darker gray. Um, Again, like I'm going to go over top of these with the color, but if I lock in my shadows, it adds a little depth, which I like. So. All right, so I might switch over to color. I did all this with warm grays, so I'm gonna put just to nail down the shadows, but I want to put some like local color on top. Obviously, Deadpool's red and black, so I'm gonna just focus on the red areas, and then I'll probably go in with like a cool, like a bluish gray, and do some of the black areas before actually going in with actual black ink. Yeah. And when I go over top of this, like you'll see that the shadow, I don't know if it'll show on the actual camera, but the grays will still show through in the final piece. So you still have that hint of the shadow underneath it. It's a little like underpainting, which is kind of nice. And I'm just laying a flat color right now. I'm not gonna fuss with it too much. And I'll go darker later, and also add shadows, add some highlights at the very end. But right now I just want like a flat color as a base to work off of. And these markers are super vivid, so I'm hoping it shows up on a camera, but like in life, these things are just, it's just awesome. Like it's a great rich color. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Marintage. I was, you don't know how it's going to show up, so I was always a little worried, but awesome. That's good news that it's looks good. So I'll probably layer in the same color a couple times because every time you go in again, it's a little like watercolor where it gets a little darker. Um, so I can add some shadow to it before switching off to a darker version of the color. And again, I'm layering this color over top of the gray that I started out with. So it makes the shadows a tad bit more rich and add depth to the piece. I'm gonna let that sort of dry. Although alcohol markers dry pretty fast. Um, I find that like if you give it a few minutes, it I don't know, it just feels like it soaks into the paper. You hit a saturation point, I think, after even with just alcohol markers. I think the paper needs a chance to breathe a little bit. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna switch off to the black areas of her outfit. I kind of want to go in with one of these like bluish neutrals. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll go over the shadow. Yeah, it's not very dark, which I'm not really looking for at the moment. I just want to like get a feel for how it looks. I'm gonna go back in with a much darker blue. Um, I'm sort of thinking of what like the midtones are gonna look like, as well as the highlights. And I don't want it to just be gray, so I want to give it a hint of a color. So I'm gonna go with slightly darker blue. It's still pretty light though. So that red probably rested enough. I'm going to switch back to red. Sort of beef up the shadows a little bit. Let's see. I'll try this and see how this looks. I keep some of the light areas in the shadows. Just it's like a little reflected spot. So I'm gonna hit the one edge of it and soften it. You can kind of see like these blend pretty nicely. So there's like the nice hard edge there, and then in the shadow it's softened. It's kind of nice. You don't need. I know some marker sets sell a separate blender, and I'm sure Olo probably has something similar, but I've found that like just using a lighter color, like the one that you just dropped in, the darker one allows you to sort of blend it in without having to have yet another marker that you're holding on to. I'm gonna actually soften that edge a little bit. And again, this is like the charm of having the two tips that you can like choose what color you want together, what colors rather. Yeah, I purposely chose like a darker red and a much lighter one that I could use to fade it if I wanted to. All right, so I'm gonna let that rest and we'll switch back to the blue. Same idea. I'm gonna, slowly darken things. I will probably end up making a lot of the blue areas black, to be frank. Just will decide as I go, but I have the option with the markers. Like I could decide to not use, nearly as much black if I just like how it looks with the blue that I'm using. So I'm gonna switch out. Because I have a dark blue with it. I'm gonna switch that out with this lighter blue. And then use that to fade some of this, or blend rather. I get the feeling I'm going to lose a lot of these darker blues to just black, but I just want to see what they looks like. Yeah. I can also be a little sloppier in how I'm applying it in the black areas because I know I'm going to go in with ink and darken things, sharpen things up. I'm trying to be a little neater with the red areas just because I will use a lot less black there and just flesh things out with color. Marker squeaks. Hopefully it's not, yeah, I just want to make sure it's not bleeding through and hurting anything. I'm going to block in some of that hair color. I believe she's blonde, so I'm going to just start with like kind of a real basic yellow. Just to see how that gray and yellow work well together or not. And then while this is wet, I'm going to go in with slightly, it's kind of a yellow-orange. Just add some shadow areas. Just because it's a lighter color, that warm gray that I blocked in the shadows with is going to show through a little more with the local color of the hair. So I want to like go in with a pretty vivid shadow color, and then I'll tone it down if it needs it later, but just want to see how it looks. Might go in with like a more like a orange brown for now. This is good. Speaking of brown, I should do some of the pouches and stuff. And again, I'm just gonna do it light. And then bump it up later if I want to add more highlights or shadows. That already kind of looks modeled because of just using the various tones and colors to like establish a shadow. So that's nice. A little darker. because there's some overlap, I want to be careful because I'm still using the sort of orange browns and yellows. I want to be careful not to like lose the hair color and pouch's shadow area, and I want to make sure each color is distinct. Silly camera is drifting again. Not sure what's up with this thing. All right, so I might actually start going in with a little bit of ink, just to kind of, I think we're at the point where I can shape this up a little bit. Curious to see how it looks. Oh, actually, wait. Plop this in. So I'm using a zebra brush pen here. I'm going to outline it and see how it looks. I'll decide on shadows and stuff later. Like, I want to see how it looks with the edges sharpened up a little bit. And when you drop in the line, sometimes you see like, okay, that there's not much contrast between the shadow and the highlighted area. So I'm definitely going to go in with more black in the actual like black areas of the outfit. Another thing I love about these markers is that like once you lay down a base color, um, the I think it's the alcohol in them. I think they just feel like they dry up the surface of the paper in a way that like they just take ink beautifully. Um, you get really like crisp lines. I mean, obviously, like the brush tools are also just very sharply designed, but it just I don't know. It feels sharper to ink over top of this sort of marker base to me, which has been a real pleasure. I think that feathering is really crisp from just how nicely the marker works with the surface of the paper to dry it up. Back in the day when I was still inking most of my own work, I would like I had an old gas stove that still had a pilot light, which is like hard to find nowadays. And I would take, especially in the summer when it's like humid, I would take all my pages and like once I was done penciling them, and then I would print out a new sheet with the like a blue line version of the pages so I could ink them and stick them in the oven overnight, and they would just feel so crispy and dry, right? There's no, because the paper is going to pick up whatever humidity is in the air. Pen, and the more humid, the more your paper sort of feels spongy, and the less ink it wants to take. So now that this like ink is on this, I realize like I should go much darker in some of the black areas of her costume, just because I was looking more and more like I'm just gonna cover up the darkest areas with black. Probably seems tedious to build it up if I'm just going to cover it up anyway, but I don't know. I like that process. I like having that option to, I might decide not to use much ink at all, depending on how the color looks or how much of the sort of comic book style look I want on this thing. So, yeah, I don't mind covering it up. And these markers play well with ink, which is nice too. I think I'm gonna bump up some of those reds too, just a little bit. Not necessarily like much darker than this, but just layer a little more on there. While that dries a little, I'm gonna draw this sword in just to like give it a place. can also go in with one of these like white Posca pen, paint markers. Technically, I was gonna say pen, and just like drop in some highlights just to see how they look. I think I'm just about done. At least during the stream, I'm probably gonna fiddle with this thing like as I look at it, and I tend to like take more breaks when I'm doing these things and stop and just look at this thing to figure out like, do I need to punch up some colors? Do I need to add more black? Whatever. And I suspect I'm gonna do a good bit of that now. In addition to doing what I'm doing now, adding some little highlights here and there. Um, but I don't want to bore you guys with all the little nitpicking I'm probably gonna do. Like these, I want to paint white. So it'll be kind of this process, just me looking at it, stopping, staring. Okay, I meant to do this, I meant to do that, and just sort of tweaking the pieces I keep going into it. But I might call this done with quotations for the sake of the stream, and just because it's like 90% there, maybe a little more. But still, it was fun to hang out and draw on a Friday night with you guys. Again, these Olo markers have been sponsoring this Art and Love event. So check them out. I'll have a link in the description. And if you use Art Love as a discount code, you'll get 10% off, which is cool, I think. And yeah. Oh, and if you are interested in the art itself, over on Raremarq, which again, I'll put a link in the description, you can bid on this piece, maybe pick it up, as well as other pieces throughout the last 2 weeks. So check that out too. And if you really, really are into this thing, you might be able to own it. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.